Hi guys, Liz here. So I'm back with another video, and this video I actually done before, not on this channel, but on another channel that I used to have when I first started on YouTube, and that channel name was GAEHM 2009, and I made a video on there, sorry, made a video on that channel, and that video was pretty much about something that I went through as a child, actually. Well, maybe like close to my teens. Well, technically, yeah, I was close to my teens. So that video I posted on that channel, and if you want to check it out, just type in GAEHM 2009 and that channel should pop up. So that video that I did was a video about sorry, I have a hip story that, I put on there, and I was like, because I don't use that channel anymore, so I was like, I'm just gonna maybe put it on this channel because I use this channel now rather than that one. So I haven't used that one for at least like 5 or 6 years, so it's been a little while since I've used that channel. But so I wanted to put a video about the same video on this one, but this is more updated of me talking. So alright, so here goes. My hip story. So back in 2009, I was 12 years old, and I don't know how long ago 2009 was, but I'm gonna get Siri to see if she can help me out here. Hey Siri, how long ago was 2009?
It was 18 hours ago.
No, it definitely wasn't 18 hours ago. How many years ago was 2009?
It was 13 years ago.
13 years ago. So, 13 years ago, this happened to me, and at the time, I was homeschooled because I was just having issues in public school, so I got taken out of public school after 6th grade and was homeschooled until I was 16, and so this happened at the time frame that I was homeschooled, which I'm actually kind of glad that it did happen at that time, because it would have been like complete misery to go through this while being in school, in public school. So it was the end of January, so the reason why I'm doing this now is because it was, well, past the time of when this happened, but in this time frame kind of thing, if you get what I'm saying. And so it was one day, the end of January, actually on the 29th, and me and my sister were outside, and we were, so it snowed, there was snow on the ground, there was ice on the ground, so we were outside and we were playing in the snow, playing in the ice, well, yeah, playing in the snow mostly, but, you'll see where the story's gonna go. And so we were playing in the snow and all, and it was time to go in for homeschooling. So I was literally, walking up my driveway, and I slipped on the ice, and I've slipped on the ice before, like multiple times in the past, and never got this severely injured. I slipped. Most of the times, like when I've slipped before, I've slipped and just fallen on my behind or something like that and got right back up. No problem. This time did not go that way. This time I actually broke my hip bone on my right side, and I was in like the most pain I could ever have been in my entire life. I have honestly never been in so much pain before since then, or before then I should say, and it was horrible. So I I was walking up the driveway and I slipped, fell literally right down on my right side on my hip, and I couldn't move. Like my leg and all was numb, and I was like, oh, okay, well maybe it's just from the cold or whatever, because it was cold outside and there was ice on the ground, and I was laying on the ice until my mom came outside to get me, which wasn't long. But so obviously, like, I was in pain, I was screaming, I was crying, and my grandmother at the time, before she passed away, because she passed away in 2013, she had Alzheimer's. So before she passed away, she was living with us, and so she was sitting in our living room, and that, like, our living room faces like our window, and you could see outside on our driveway and all, in our front front yard and all. So she was sitting in one of the recliners that we had at the time, in the living room, and watching us just to make sure we were okay. And so once she saw that I was down, she's like, "Oh, Elizabeth fell." So that's when my mom came out to come get me. And because mind you, that she was getting everything set up for homeschooling that day. So she comes out, she picks me up off of the ice, and I mean, I'm 12 years old at the time, so I'm starting to get a little more, like, weight to me. Not like a lot, but, like, I'm basically, not at the point where you can just pick me up really easily. So I felt bad for my mom because she had to pick me up and drag me inside. And, I felt really bad for her. But, so she got me inside, after all that happened, got me inside. I sat down, let it rest for like a little bit. So then she was like, "All right, well, let's see if we can get you up to walk." So I was like, okay. I was like, it's probably not gonna happen because I'm still in pain, but we'll try. So she got me up, and I could not walk. And so we're like, okay, so maybe it's, still whatever. Didn't really think anything of it at the time. So she gets me up maybe like a few hours or so later, or like more later, towards like the evening, because this happened like in the later morning. So maybe like more towards the evening, she got me up again. And so how, like, with like how your legs are, they're supposed to be like straight. My left side was straight because nothing happened on that side. My right side kept going out. So like if I would stand up, my foot on the right side would just keep going out. Like it would like literally like go like out to the side. So my mom's like, no, put your leg back the way. I'm like, Mom, I can't. It's the way it is. I can't. And when I say that, I wasn't being mean or anything. I was just like, I can't. I can't help my legs just going out. In a different direction. So then we were like, okay, that's not normal. That's not right. So at one point my mom told me, she's like, I swear, she's like, it looked like you were gonna like either pass out on me or you were gonna like throw up on me, because she said you were so pale. And I honestly, and I told her that later, and I was like, honestly, I really didn't feel either of those things. I didn't feel sick to my stomach, and I didn't feel like I was gonna pass out. I couldn't walk. So later on that day, she calls our doctor. So get over to the doctor. Doctor checks me out. He's pressing like all around like my hip and on my right side. And if when they pressed, they were like, nothing happened. But when they tried to like lift up my leg, I literally went right through the ceiling. I was in so much pain. Like I said, I've never been in this much pain before till then. It was crazy. So they're like, oh, nope, that's not right. So they're like, take her over to the emergency room, get x-rays and all. So that's what we had to do. Luckily, from our doctors to our local emergency room wasn't that far. So my mom we got back in the car, all the way to the emergency room. Waiting in the emergency room, I was in probably like about that time the most pain. If any of you have ever experienced, which most likely you have when you were younger, growing pains, oh my gosh, they were one of the worst. So this felt like a growing pain, but like 10 times, maybe 1,000 times more than that. This was definitely not no growing pain for sure. And I think at that point, like, I was kind of out of the age of growing pains. So maybe like not fully, but you know. So we're waiting in the emergency room, and I'm just like, oh my god, just please, like, I just want to go back and get these x-rays done. I am in so much pain here. Because usually, you know, like, when you go to the emergency room, it's just the way that it is, unfortunately. You can't really help it. You can't really help anything with that, but you just gotta basically just wait until you're called back. So finally I got called back, got me into a room, and I, you know, they got me set up, got me ready to go back to get my x-rays done. So I'm laying on the x-ray table, and I was in the worst pain ever you could imagine. I literally, like, because obviously they had to position me for different angles, for different positions for the x-ray to get better views, I guess you could say. And I was in so much pain. Oh my gosh. Just thinking about it now, I was just like, I cringe. But I literally was just laying on the table as they're moving me, and I'm just like screaming in pain and just screaming things that I normally would not say, and just like, I'm like, oh my god, you know. So it was not good. So they got the x-rays come out, and they tell me, they're like, oh, well, you have a broken hip, that's why you can't walk, and that's why you can't do anything. You have a broken hip, and you need to go to another hospital. It was a children's hospital that was maybe like an hour or so away from where I live. And they're like, oh, nope, you gotta go there. They'll take better care of you there. They'll, you know. So I'm like, okay. No, not really the news that I wanted to hear. But I, you know, it is what it is. So I was laying in the bed in the emergency room, waiting to get transported, waiting for the ambulance to come to transport me from there to the other hospital. And I just remember I was so tired, I was literally falling asleep. And normally, like, if I'm not in my own bed, I have a lot of trouble sleeping, because when I sleep with a fan, and I cannot sleep without my fan. If my fan is not on, I cannot sleep. I am like, probably would be like up half the night. And two, I just like being in the comfort of my own, like, surrounding, I guess you could say. So I just remember I was so tired, and I literally started like falling asleep in the bed, and I, you know, because at that point they gave me something to ease the pain a little bit. They actually gave me morphine, and I, you know, normally that, like, because they were like, oh, we'll just give you Tylenol. No, they actually gave me something a lot stronger. But I mean, I was fine. So it just helped me, you know. And so once the ambulance got there, I got transported into the ambulance from bed to bed, I guess you could say. And or gurney to gurney, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And so I get over to the other hospital, and mind you, this is like maybe 1-2 o'clock in the morning. And when I get over there, so they're like, oh, well, you broke your hip, you're gonna need surgery. And this was the first surgery I've ever gotten. I have never gotten surgery before in my life before this. So I was scared, like, I was pretty freaked out, I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty freaked out. And so I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? Like, so my mom's just basically like going over, like, this is what they're gonna do with surgery, they're gonna put you out under with anesthesia, this and that. So I mean, it did help me feel a little bit better after I talked to her about it, but I was still scared, especially for being a 12-year-old, you know, a 12-year-old kid or girl, whatever you want to say. And, you know, like, oh yeah, you're gonna go through surgery. It's like, oh no, you know. So that morning, so this was January 30th, Early that morning, I got wheeled down to the operating room and had my first surgery. The first surgery did help, and I was not in as much pain as I was after the surgery. I was in a little bit of pain, but not much. But the first surgery they did was they put like screws or pins in my hip just to kind of keep everything together. So, and mind you that like my bones, the reason why this happened was because my bones were so brittle. Because I guess from what I was told, I didn't get enough calcium when I was little. Because one, I am not really a milk drinker. The only milk that I will drink is chocolate milk, and I don't even really drink that very often. So I don't really get a lot of calcium as far as that goes in my diet, which technically I really should, but I just was never big on, like, especially like regular milk. I remember like drinking it when I was little and just like not really caring for it. Like I didn't like the taste of it. So yeah, so that's why like my bones were so brittle and they broke so easily. And so by like I had to stay overnight in the hospital, and this was actually my first overnight stay in the hospital. Had to stay overnight in the hospital for a few days. I came home the 31st, so it really wasn't that long. Came home the 31st of January of that year, and I just remember being so happy coming home from the hospital, like, oh my god, like, back in my surrounding, you know. But the only thing is that our house has an upstairs, so I couldn't go upstairs, and this is where my room is, upstairs. So I had to sleep downstairs on the couch. I mean, like, I did have my mom and all sleep with me, you know, so I wasn't alone downstairs. But I couldn't go upstairs. I was on crutches from January until July of 2009. I also was in a wheelchair at times. If we were, like, taking walks, or if we were, going, you know, like to different places, and it was a lot of walking, I went in the wheelchair. You know, I brought my crutches along with me, and then I sat in the wheelchair and then did whatever. And this was like a few weeks before my 13th birthday, so happy birthday to me. Didn't really want to go through that, but so, and within that time frame too, I was having like severe like panic attacks, and I developed anxiety at age 10, and really it's not something a 10-year-old shouldn't really like develop, or even younger develop, but it's just I couldn't really help it. When I first had my very first panic attack when I was 10, and I was just like extremely scared. I didn't know what was going on. It felt like literally someone like took over my body, and just like it was not me. So I was like, it was scary. It was to the point where I actually made myself sick a few times. I made myself throw up a few times when I had really bad panic attacks, and it was just not fun. So I was having really bad panic attacks too when all this was going on, or, you know, within that time frame. So, alright, so back to the story. So from January 2009 till July 2009, I was on crutches, but I went for a follow-up appointment in June, I want to say. And yeah, it was in June. It was like the middle towards the end of June, and because they had to schedule my surgery for like the second, I think it was like the second week of July, and I had to have another surgery because when I got the x-rays on one of my follow-up appointments, I was starting to develop osteonecrosis, which is where the bone starts to die and gets even more brittle. So, and I remember I was starting to feel a little bit more pain than I was like, is this normal? So, you know, when I told the doctor and all, and then we reviewed the x-rays, and he said, no, we have to take the pins out. So I was like, okay. So got a second surgery. That surgery was a same day surgery, so I was able to go in that day, come out that day, back home that day. So I didn't have to stay overnight. So had to have that surgery, had to have the pins taken out. Pins got took out, and from July 2009 till January 2010, I was actually going in for my third surgery. And the third surgery was because I was in severe pain at times, and it's just because it's just the way the bone was. So for my third surgery, they were like, let's try to resurface the bone and see if maybe that will help it, just to kind of like, but as they were resurfacing my bone, it was so brittle, I guess, so they really couldn't after they got in. So they said, no, we can't do anything else. Final one is hip replacement. So I'm like, oh boy. So I was 13 at the time when all these two surgeries were happening. Second and my third. I was 13, and when I was 14, I got a hip replacement on my right side. So as of 14 till almost 27 years old, yes, I'm 26, almost 27 years old, I still have my hip replacement on my right side. I felt so much better after my hip replacement. So November 2010 is when I went in for my hip replacement, and I felt so much better after I got the hip replacement. I was able to walk again after a few weeks of recovery. I was able to walk. I really didn't even need like therapy of any kind, physical therapy, which like blew me away, blew my parents away, even blew the doctors away, because they were like, oh, like you're gonna have to stay in the hospital for a few days and then go to rehab for a few days, because they had a rehab like right there next to the hospital for kids. So I was like, okay, I mean, I really don't want to, but it is what it is. So like they did a little bit of therapy with me in the hospital, and I did pretty good. So I guess they figured that I did so good that I really didn't need physical therapy. And even when I went back for my follow-ups and all, the doctor's like, no, you don't need any physical therapy. So I was really happy about that, and really surprised. I blew, I guess, like I said, blew myself away, blew the doctors and my parents away with that. So yeah, so I still have my hip replacement. As far as, like, if anything, like, if I need to have it, like, take this one taken out, another one taken in, I'm not sure. It doesn't give me any trouble, which is good. I'm not really in any pain. The only time I'm in pain is if it's, like, because I have arthritis in my hip now. So the only time that I have pain is obviously like when arthritis pain starts, whether it's really, really cold, really, really hot, rainy, damp, cloudy, snow even, stuff like that, is when I get, a little bit of achiness in my hip, and even in like my legs and all too. Even now, like on my left side, it's weird, but I get it sometimes like in my legs and all. So I developed arthritis in my hip at a very young age, and all because of what happened. If it wasn't for that, then I probably wouldn't have developed arthritis that easily and that young. So yeah, but I am doing fine with it, honestly. One of the good things were when I was in high school, and I was actually exempted from like PE, physical education, and gym and all. So I mean, there were certain things that I could do, like when they had us like go out on the track in high school from my freshman to my senior year. They just, like, the teachers just told me, just walk. And I was like, that's perfect, because that's what I could do. Walk, swim, they said was a really good thing for it. Trying to think of what else. Walking, swimming. It's like stuff like that. I couldn't do anything high impacted, running, jumping, anything like that. Couldn't do. So I just told them, and obviously I had a note to say that I couldn't. So I got exempted from any like physical activity like that from gym. So I mean that was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, like I was like, you know, I was able to sit out on that because some of the stuff I really didn't want to do anyway. So so I guess that maybe, you know, it was like a plus for the whole thing, but really the whole thing was just a minus. It was a freak accident and I didn't want it to happen. I didn't want to have to go through all of this, but I did, and I told myself to keep pushing through, and just to keep holding on, and to keep going. Say that you're going to get through this. So, and I want to say the same thing for anyone who has been through what I've been through, which it's not a common thing. So it's a very rare thing, but anyone who has been through this, I am totally understanding what you went through or what you're going through, and you're gonna get through it just like I did. It's a tough thing. It's a lot with doctor's appointments, hospital stays, and stuff like that. But it is what it is, but you're gonna get through it just like me. And I told myself, I'm like, you know, when this was going on, just keep holding on, keep pushing through, and you're gonna get through it. So that was my hip story, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's not really the most pleasant video, I guess you could say. It was more like a personal video, but I put it on my other account that I used to have, so I was like, I wanted to do the same thing for this account. So yeah, so I hope you guys didn't mind me rambling on about this, but it is the truth. I do have a hip replacement at age 26, almost 27, and yeah, so, but thank you guys so much for watching this video and my other videos if you have, and I will definitely be making more videos at some point, and yeah, so I will see you guys soon in another video. Alright, bye guys.